I hated this guy, right?
You.
Right? Like, we did everything we could to hate. I didn't hate.
We did everything we could to not have you on our team, including me questioning if I should forward an email off that I received from you or just bring it straight to trash. So
Does this happen a lot in your life?
Never. And
Just kidding.
I remember you being rude to me on the phone. I never told you this.
Shocker.
But yeah, you were a little bit rude to me on the
What?
phone. Yeah, she was.
No way.
weird.
So
No.
I get, did I even have a job posting up at that time?
Yes, you did.
Okay. So
Yes.
at least I was out there, was looking, and it comes up on my LinkedIn first. I'm like, all right. I don't know if that's the fit. I don't know if that's what I'm looking for. And I was candid with you when you did finally meet me, but then you were persistent and you said something to me. It became true, but do you remember what you said to me?
I believe I did. I think I said it in the email, and you reiterated to me about a month or so ago. It says, rock stars in the making.
Yes.
And I will be your next rock star.
Yeah.
Something like that.
All right. And on the LinkedIn, you said, if you give me a chance,
Yeah.
I promise you will
won't
never
regret
regret it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't regretted a second of it.
Good. Neither have I.
Right? Amen.
No,
Amen.
I am forever grateful that I answered your email.
Right? To the point where we've often said, can we just clone D?
D.
If we could clone D, we'd be all right. Right? It
I know.
was-
I had to bug you on LinkedIn to literally nudge you, I think, about 3 or 4 times
Yeah.
before you gave me, you say,
Oh,
okay,
you
call. Yeah.
like persistent as you in the dictionary, my friend.
Yep. Yeah.
But
So good.
you know, you have lived up, you have beyond lived up to what you promised. Today's guest on Agents and Pieces is the beloved D,
Oh, my sweet baby blue-eyed D.
who joined Nuborrow. And we were talking about the persistence to be part of the team, and then signs up. Yes, we kick it off, and boom,
Right away.
COVID.
Was it 14 days? No, it was about a month,
It was
right? Like
March.
mid-February?
I'll never forget. It was March 10th. That was the day we started. And I think it was
No.
March.
March 14th we closed. It was February 10th.
Yeah, you were
Because March 14th
You're right,
was the
actually.
lockdown.
Yeah, February 10th is
Yeah.
when I started. And so it was just over a month and we were
Yeah.
gone. Yeah.
So I remember bringing everybody into the training
back room.
the back
Yeah.
room back then.
Yep.
The government had not closed anything down, and I said to everybody, "We're sending everybody home.
Yeah.
We're going to be ahead of this."
That
is
was
what
the
I-
Friday, the
this-
10th.
Yeah, this is what I
Yeah.
think's happening, and everyone was like, "No, way, that's crazy. World's not going to shut down. We're not doing this. We want to come to the office every day."
Yeah.
And I think the following week, the government said that's what's going to happen, and we shut down. And you know, you had the whole system that we don't have anymore, where you had Becca as kind of the mother hen and helping with deals, but you were like on your own, just you were in the industry before you got to us, right?
Not really.
Just
Just in the industry as a licensed agent, but not actually doing a
not
single
doing it.
deal.
So
Didn't do
now
a single deal.
you're with us, you're working, boom, you're from home. What was that like?
Yeah.
I had no idea this world existed. I was expecting the whole Dominion lending type of environment. So it was your letter of job offer on Indeed that
That intrigued him.
made me want to work here. And then I think I told you this. I had a second interview right after here.
Right.
With a different company. And I didn't want to go anywhere else. It
And their
just-
offer was better.
Their offer was better. They were having a base pay was more and the commission was higher. But that wasn't about that. It was about the environment. It was about the training, and it was about that rock star in the making, right? And that's what really hit it home for me. And I keep telling you to this day, send that letter out if you're looking for more people, because that's what drove me to Nuborrow. So working from home during COVID at that time, again, I think I embraced it because I was kind of used to working from home, because that before I was there, I was self-employed and I was working with my wife all the time. I was doing sales and I was calling people on the phone. So it was not much of a difference. And I knew how to get up. I knew how to apply myself. I knew how to work. And I think in my first month working away from home, I was top agent.
You were.
At the
Yeah.
time.
Did you get 8?
Yeah.
Was it
Nine.
8, 9
Nine.
deals?
9.
Yeah. He
And I'm
remembers.
pretty sure, if I remember
was 9.
correctly, you had the best home office.
I did, yeah, because
Yeah,
I got
Because he took your wife's.
yeah,
yeah.
I did, but I also went because she's a graphic designer and she
Made you
kind
your
of
poster.
the poster that we put behind the camera for the signings. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, he was the most sophisticated.
You were digital
Yeah.
signing studio before we had them.
Yeah.
Let's walk it back though, because I'm sure you've caught the accent. So let's talk about your journey here.
Oh, God.
Well, you've done some interesting things,
Yeah.
right? Like I know you're a pilot. Like there's lots of behind the scenes than just here right now.
yeah.
So, what was your journey like to come here? What made you want to come?
By accident, actually, I ended up in Canada. So I kind of have to go way, way back to explain why I ended up in Canada.
Yeah, sure.
So, rural Ireland, we had pigs, chickens, and one cow. Her name was Daisy growing up. Okay. I was not a big fan of that upbringing, I guess, and I wanted to get away. So as soon as I graduated high school, I went to university in England, and I was there for 4 years, and I got my bachelor's degree, and then I was down the south of Bournemouth, just kind of on a summer trip, and there was an Irish guy there who was flying planes, building hours. He took me up, and I got hooked.
No way.
So straight from graduating university, I went to flight school in the south of England, and that's where I got my private pilot's license. After that, 2 months later, I was in LA, California, and I was doing my commercial pilot's license. So I was there for 2 years. And I'd literally just graduated, and I had a major contract with this company. We're going to be flying 737-800s from LA to Sicily, Palermo specifically.
Wow.
And so I think that was that was June, July, August or something like that. And I graduated, went home, because then we were going to go to Italy, because then we had in Palermo where the other airport was, and we were going to be training on the 737-800s because I had an American license. We needed a European license to do both. So, long story short, September 11th happened, 2001. So no more foreign national visas to the States for obvious reasons. And then they canceled the 737-800s. So now here I was sitting at home in rural Ireland with a commercial pilot license, a degree, and the only thing I could get was a bartender or a bouncer. So I did that for like 3 years, trying to get back to the States to fly. And someone at the bar mentioned was Canadian, so why don't you go to Canada? I was like, I never even thought of it. So converting my license from American to Canadian was pretty easy. I had it done in 2 months.
Wow.
And then I was teaching for a few years. And then immigration came along. So then there was immigration issues, and I couldn't work as a pilot in Canada anymore. And long story short, met a Canadian, fell in love, got married. Her mother-in-law is in real estate. She said I should do mortgages. So I did. Here we are.
Wow. What a
crazy.
journey.
Yeah,
Right?
it was kind of a crazy.
And then you started out in what's probably the most popular model, sign up, get licensed or put your license under a brokerage and find your own business.
And I was thinking, obviously, it's purchases. Never kind of thought about home equity lines of credit, equity financing. It's always like purchases, right? That's what everyone thinks of when they think of mortgage agents. That's what I thought of.
Well, I remember when after you got your feet wet, and we were you and I talk a lot, and you were saying like, I didn't know that A, this world existed, but B, the things you can do with equity, there's so many unique things you can do, or if you do it, and you've seen some people do it wrong.
Correct.
Right? Like you've done a lot of mortgages since you've been on this team, but that we talk about that all the time. That really changed your whole mindset of how the industry or our part, what we focus on, we specialize in, really works. It's night and day, right? Like if you think if you could think now that purchase model, why would you ever even have an interest in it?
No.
Right? Like it's just not what you're used to. So then when you think about that and you think about your journey and how you got here, like you say to me, I bleed purple, right? Like what is it about what is it about Nuborrow that you gravitated towards?
The plan. And I say it on my phone calls all the time, borrowing money without a plan is just a bad plan. I say it to my clients all the time. Clients, for the most part, have they have trust issues.
Sure.
Because they've had bad experience in the past, and people, they just don't they don't want to get a mortgage. No one likes having to do it, especially if they're in financial trouble and they don't know if there are options available. So trying to establish trust with someone who has had distrust in the past is a challenge. But with the process here at Nuborrow and the way you trained us from day one is trust the process. And there's a whole process. All we got to do is stick to it, trust it, show them the digital loan offer, show them the numbers, show them how you can save them, explaining why. Being that guide every step of the way really helps. And that's why I like getting those 5-star reviews, right? I try every time to get that.
Yeah,
It's a big issue for us.
I think that's one of our biggest letdowns or disappointments is when we do all of that and the client doesn't see the value in it. So speak to that a little bit when you've done everything and the client just doesn't see it.
That happens a lot too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's the when we talk. So when I do the training and I hear you guys say, I don't understand. It just doesn't it makes so much sense. And I quickly remind you that deals are not done because they make sense. You're solving a problem, and that problem has a lot of emotions attached. And if you're not finding the emotion and the reasons, the why behind the situation they're in, how it got here, and why they're motivated to change, and most people hate change, so you're not going to motivate them with a number or something that to you makes sense. You have to figure out what's happening underneath in their life and what the emotional reasons are, and those trigger points that will help them see a new way.
Yeah, it's like at the end, where am I going to be? And I think if you explain the plan, and that's why putting a 3-year plan together, a lot of the clients hits home. And it's the exit strategy. Okay, you're doing this now, but what about next year? And I think we're one of the only brokerages out there that actually does that and does the math ahead of time for next year as much as best as we can to see what it's going to look like.
I would say I agree. I would say there are other brokerages who will show the odd or do some of those steps, but I know that we are one of the few that care about it. So you can do it all day long and you can say, oh yeah, no, I think that makes sense. And if you move this mountain and that mountain, you'll probably be okay. And we have a team that will help you through the process. The difference is, and we'd had our client care department manager, Jasmine, on in another episode where, if you question how I really feel about client care and our process and the things I train you and ask you to do for clients, you're in the wrong team. You're on the wrong team, because while others may say they do it, we do it. Yeah. And you know what I am if you don't do the process, right? Yeah, even though, and that was one of the things that you and when I interviewed you and I said, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. You don't fit the mold of what I would typically put on my team, because, you're going to be resistant to change. You're going to be resistant to the training. You're not going to always buy in because you're going to do things your way because you've done things. Like, I don't have a pilot's license. I didn't, you know what I mean? You have more experience in other areas than I do. So how are you going to take what we do? I care so passionately about what we do. How are you going to be able to take those tools and commit to them?
Because pilots, we operate our checklists. You gave me a checklist.
Well, you did it too, right? You right away rebutted and said, no. I don't know if you use the words, I'm too old, but you said, like, I'm not into trying to do this on my own. I've been trying to do this outside of this model. It's not working. And if I'm willing to learn, if you want to teach me, you're doing something right. So if you're willing to teach me, it would be foolish of me not to do it.
To listen.
Right? And you've done, like, you participate in trainings, you train other agents, you answer questions with, you're so unselfish with your time. You don't like people to waste your time, but you'll still stop and help somebody. You often volunteer to take a new agent, have them sit next to you, which I love and hate at the same time, right? We've had those come. But I mean, why do you do those things? Why? Like, what is it about those things that you take so much ownership of.
I don't know. It's just who I am, I guess. That's just how I've always been. If someone needs help, I like to help them. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And I think that's why you fit in so well. I mean, you're part of the sounding board, and you're somebody we put in the round twos of the interviews.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you're just part of that core group of people that I listen to for feedback on a teammate, a new person. Do you think, they're a good fit? What do you like? What you don't like? Can they be coached? Right. One of the things I said to you in that thing is, are you coachable? Right.
Yep.
And when someone asks that question, what does that mean to you?
When someone asks me that question, what does it mean to me? Wow. One of the reasons why I like to help people when they ask is because I know how steep of a learning curve it is.
Yeah.
Coming into Nuborrow, and like the amount of volume that we're doing right off the bat, the amount of deals, the amount of phone calls, the amount of apps we're getting. If I didn't have Becca at the time, would have been really overwhelming for me. So I can only imagine what it's like now coming in as a new agent into Nuborrow. We have such a big office now. It's grown quite a bit since the 3.5 years that I've been here.
Yeah.
So when I ask that question, it's like, okay, will they ask questions? Because you can't assume that you're brand new. You have to be able to ask questions. And I think that was one of my biggest successes, is one of the first days in class that you told me is to ask questions, no such thing as a dumb question. So I took it literal, and I think I was bugging you for I don't know how long, but I asked everyone questions
And I think
about everything.
The questions that you were asking too just speaks to your willingness to succeed, right? So when someone's invested in something, you'll take the time to master it, which you have.
Yep.
You've become that rock star that you once wanted to be.
That's right.
But I think too, when it comes to the coachability-ness, is the willingness to learn. The willingness to say, you know what, I never thought of it that way, and gaining perspective. And we said in previous podcasts, the one person who's mastered perspective is Jazz, right? So we want everyone to get to that elite level of perspective. We all want to think that we know everything, but in reality, every single day we walk through those double doors, we know that we're actually being exposed to something completely different that we haven't learned. So the willingness to learn and the coachability, again, me and you usually go against each other on who we think's the next new hire. But one thing that you are a lot better at, I guess, is seeing is the coachability. It's what can I teach this person? Is this person willing to learn, from, we'd like to say, the best in the industry? And I think too, you bring that human element. You can find parallels in your own life and say, you know what? This person's like this. This is the perspective we need to look at it for, which I'm grateful to have you a part of my team. I am.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great.
One of the impact moments for me, when we were doing the client interviews, and we were kind of on the fence about this one particular person. We were going back and forth, and you still, without checking with your wife, said,
I'll house them.
he can live with me. I'm like, bro.
It's Dallas. I still know his name.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I mean,
Dallas.
that's a big testament to you believed that coachable, that you can do it.
Yeah.
And not too many people on a team are going to put their hand up in a live interview session and say, you know what? Hey,
I have an
you live
extra
with me.
bedroom.
No problem.
I said it to you from the beginning. This position here, this opportunity that not the job,
Is
but the
life-changing.
opportunity, it changed my life.
Yeah,
I think we talked about it yesterday.
we did.
Yeah, like it literally was that much of an impact, and it's like I was thinking I'm gonna have this conversation with my wife over the weekend. Who in your life, and this isn't kiss the boss's ass moment, but
No.
who in your life has such a positive influence on you? And I was thinking about that, and I was like, okay, I'm not a real professor at my university, not a football coach in high school. You, this job, this position opened my eyes to a whole new world that was out there that I had no idea about. And it literally saved my life because I could have been one of our clients if I wasn't careful. And we were heading that way. And I think that's one of the reasons why, again, I can relate to people in that position because I've been there.
I think people, and sometimes in interviews, I tell people, they ask about how the company started, and I'm like, hey, I might be the principal broker, but I am a member.
Yeah.
My life was exactly the same. I am exactly the same. And I had to learn the hard way, make the mistakes to try and figure it out and how to learn. And when we opened this, that was my big, we could have went purchase route. We could have went make relationships with realtors. We could have done a lot, but we went direct to the public right away. And in the TV commercial, those are my kids, right? I understand what it's like to have 2 car payments, a mortgage, and extracurricular activities and credit card debt, and sometimes being like, I don't know what I'm going to do next month. And I often encourage you guys, when you're looking at someone's life and you're trying to help them through their finances, to remember, like, this is the teaching moment. This is the chance that you get to make. In training, I say to you guys all the time, I'm gonna climb Kilimanjaro. Who am I taking?
Yep.
Am I taking the guide who's on his phone not paying attention and give me one-word answers? Or am I taking the guy that's already stretching and being like, yo, let's do this? Yeah. I want a guide that's going to get me through, because you can make so many mistakes with a windfall of equity that you don't own. Yep. Well, it's really important. Like, the market owns your equity. You don't own it. Yeah. Somebody could have a grow up the house next to you and ruin the equity on the street.
Yep.
Yeah.
So now you have this gift. What's the thing you should do? What's the best thing you should do with it? And that's the moment you get to share with somebody, and they can say it makes a lot of sense, or they can tell you that they don't want to do it. But you've learned how to do that for people.
Yeah.
And that's a moment, right? Like, think about a client impact story. Think about something I know you have lots of them.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of deals, right?
Yep.
In the 3.5 years. What are some that come to mind?
There's one that definitely comes to mind, and it was a lot of debt, a lot of high interest credit card debt, and just the client working overtime, trying to pay down as much as possible towards principal, and he was just spinning his wheels. Like me, I guess at the time, he didn't know what other options were out there, saw an ad and just applied. And it's and again, didn't really trust, always had the, you're going to take my house kind of thing, that kind of attitude, very defensive in the beginning. So trust the process, go through it, explain to them, and kind of try and relate to them that we've all been there. We've all had high interest credit card debt, and leveraging your home to your advantage, it can be a smart thing. Let me show you how. That's kind of thing. We do the DLO. We met virtually. We go over everything, ask questions live. You answer the questions and put everything online as easy. You can see a face, and then we went through the process. So we basically got him a home equity loan. We consolidated all his debt. We gave him a breathing room for a year to repair his credit. And then next year, we usually would go to renewals and client care. He didn't want to work with anyone else. He wanted to work with me. So we did. And we merged everything into one new first mortgage. The plan worked out perfectly. He even had some money back for renovations that he wanted to do for his kids in the basement so he could build a playroom. And we did all that within like a 2-year period.
I think, and I've noticed this over the episodes that we've done, where I ask about a client impact story, something that matters to you, and agents can right away pull one up. But that's because we touch so many lives. And I think that's one of when somebody's at home Googling, especially if you're in a generation where interest rates were way higher in the 70s, 80s, when, for a first mortgage than they are today. Yeah. Second mortgages were not commercialized or corporate. You couldn't come to a place like this. You would get it done through a lawyer or somebody who knew somebody, and you would take these deals as a second that were just as expensive as the first, if not more. And you would try and work your way without any plan or without any help, so that you already have like a second mortgage. If you say the word second mortgage to somebody, right away it's bad.
Yep.
Especially from a certain generation. Can't be good. Last time, I love that story. So I know someone who had a second mortgage and they lost their house. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
That's why we say borrowing money without a plan is a very, very bad plan.
Yeah.
But we don't do that here. And when you share those client impact stories, it automatically underlines, or it brings to the surface right away, that this is what we do. It's what we're best at.
Yeah.
Solving problems.
And I think our team does a very good job at rewriting that narrative, right? It's all those old wives' tales, things that people experienced firsthand, but rewriting that narrative for our clients and allowing them to regain that control. Because at the end of the day, more often than not, our home's our biggest asset. And that's where our kids sleep at night. And that's where we put our kids to bed. And that's the home that we brought them home in. So really caring for that and understanding how important their house is, I understand your client's position and like, hey, I'm going to be defensive to the no end because I worked really hard for this. But allowing them to break down those walls, understand you, and trust you is huge and speaks to the work you put out to all of your clients and how you can really speak to the success.
He still calls me all the time, and now he's putting steps closer for investment. So he wants to talk about Hosper and things like that. He's going to be one of those graduates, and he's going to be one of those guys. Yeah, so I'm very happy with him.
Super nice.
So you meet somebody for the first time, you explain your work at Nuborrow, they say, what is it that you do and why do you do it? What do you say?
I say I solve problems. I literally did say that. We were, my wife were in Toronto, we're picking up furniture, and they were like, it was a big, beautiful house. And she was like, what do you guys do? It's one of the first questions that people ask you like that. And he goes, I solve problems. And she was going like, okay. And
it's like, this guy's a detective. What show are you on?
I do emergency financing. Help people that are in trouble. Yeah. And that's genuinely what we do. I don't think we do mortgages, but I think we help people a lot that don't understand that they have this tool that they can use to their advantage. And that's why I love coming to work every day. We solve problems all day, every day.
Yeah. So it's so funny as soon as you said that, I solve problems because that's all when I'm out anywhere. If it's not a mortgage event, which I only go to one a year, so that's not a lot because they're a nightmare. But when I'm out and someone says, oh, I don't say, oh, I own Nuborrow or I do this. I say, listen, I solve problems. At the end of the day, that's what I don't need to continue to come every day if I didn't want to. I just love it's a live floor all the time. It's quiet right now, but it's live and it's problem solving all the time. There's a new problem every day. Yep. Sometimes they're stressful. Sometimes there's lots of problems. And sometimes it's, we look at a deal and we say, oh, you know what, if you just move this over here and do this, it's going to solve everything. And that's what keeps me going when I do it. And it helps me keep you guys going because that's the greatest gift sometimes you can give somebody. Is just no big deal. You just do second mortgages. Second mortgage is a bad idea. And usually when I do new people training and I say that right away, the eyes back at me are like, what am I doing here?
And sometimes the client is coming in and they want something specific when it's not in their best interest. Right. I have one today. I got the thing and I need to do a DLO and I need they want their low rate people and they think that's the best way to save money. But merging everything into one new first mortgage with a higher rate than what they have right now is going to save them a lot more money.
Trying to tell someone your credit card, let's go department store, is 22%.
Yeah.
Why is that not a factor for you?
Yeah.
No.
Right? Oh, no, I don't want to pay that off. It's killing you. It's killing your credit score. Never mind, you can afford the minimum payment, but what you're not paying attention to is what it's doing to you. And that's another part of the training, right? We talk about utilization and what's it doing, and you try and then train the client and show the client. The client's like, I had no idea it even works like that.
Yeah.
So the information's on the internet.
Yeah, if you just tell someone over the phone that I'm going to put you from a 3.2% mortgage to a 6% mortgage, they're going to just think you're crazy.
Yeah.
But you need to explain and guide them through the process and understand why this actually financially makes so much sense for you.
And that's why I think you are so successful. I loved it on you and I have a side project. We're working on your future and the commitments that you and I made to each other. I love that about you and what you want to do for your family. And
but again, it comes back to the first week that we were here. It was like, what is your why? Why are you here?
Right.
What is your purpose? And I gave you my answer. My why is my family. My future.
And it hasn't changed, right? And that's another part of working here. I don't want you to just work here.
Yeah.
I want you to use me and use the tools we have that you move up in life. And you teach people how to move up in life. And that way we never have a bad day, even if sometimes our plans don't go to full. I mean, during COVID and all those things, people over-actioning their equity, even though we may temper it and say, don't do that.
Yep.
This is a moment in time. Please don't do that. If they still do it, we try and work with what the decisions that they've made. But that's what makes working together, working with you every day, a pleasure for me. I'm so grateful that I put my own pig-headedness aside,
Me too.
right? And that
I know.
you were that persistent. Yep, you know, right? That she has my ear. So
Yeah.
if she had said absolutely 100% not,
I'm glad she didn't come into the meeting. I'm glad it was Becca that came in.
Oh, was it?
It wasn't you. Where you didn't come in.
I'm pleasant.
You're hard. You're tough.
Hey, because
She
I know
cares.
I
Yeah.
hold what we have here to a high standard, right? So it's if I'm hard and you can crack me, then
Yeah, but I don't think I would have been able to crack you in a 10-minute little interview, though.
those eyes may have worked.
Maybe.
And that accent may be a little waver.
maybe. So I think one of the coolest things you just recently did, was shock your family. What? Tell me what you.
Well, again, I mentioned at the beginning that I had some immigration issues, right?
Yeah.
So,
You're not a fugitive, just for the record.
immigration is tough in Canada, and rightly so. Like, don't want to get into politics or anything like that, but it's a privilege to be in Canada, right? And we went through hoops to get here. Now, luckily, I was able to fall in love, marry a Canadian. It took about a year and a half, but since we were in COVID and it was lockdown, it was like the best time to do it.
Right.
It's been about 5.5 years since I was home, and an Irish guy's mummy is very. She broke my heart at Christmas. Like, she was very upset that we weren't home for Christmas because
Right.
I was hoping I'd get the visa, the immigration thing done. But anyway, the first week of January, two things happened. I got my new mortgage, so I never have to refinance again, with the help of Nuborrow, of course, and I got my citizenship. So I have my
Amazing.
passport. So I didn't get my passport. I got my
Your
ceremony.
Your ceremony.
But then I still have to wait for the certificate. Then once you get the certificate, you got to apply for your passport.
And then
it
you
was
need
a whole
to get
process.
your card, your
Yeah.
physical card, because you can't travel with just the document, right? Didn't you have to wait for that
I
physical card to come in?
I needed to wait for my passport,
Oh, passport.
the Canadian passport, right?
Yes.
So I got the Canadian passport, and I kind of gave you the heads up that as soon as I get it, I'm booking the
Yeah,
flight. And again, that's one of the joys that I'm getting at with Nuborrow is that I have that flexibility to just go.
Yeah.
Just book a flight, on a go, and I did. And I left on a Thursday, half day at work.
Yeah.
I was back Wednesday morning, so I went home Friday
Wait,
night.
You need to tell the story about when you landed in Canada, when you came back.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I'm gonna cry.
So yeah, so that was actually, that meant a lot to me. So when I came back, and I used my Canadian passport obviously to go back in, and the border agent guy said, "Welcome home." It was the first time I got that.
Aw.
Yeah.
So
For
nice.
you. But so you surprised your
Surprised my
family,
mom,
right? They had
yeah.
no idea you were coming.
My mom and dad didn't. My brothers and sisters did because they helped coordinate it. And my goddaughter was there. They stayed the night before. And they basically were supposed to keep them in the house so that I could walk in the door, but they failed. And they were in the backyard and they saw me drive in. So, but I got it all on camera. I got the recording.
Just told you I'd come as soon as I got my passport. I said it didn't wait now. I've actually done in January 16th. I just got my passport last week, so I booked the flight and it's a long weekend. Jesus Christ! It was your fault!
Yeah.
Emotional surprise for your
Yeah, my
parents,
mom
I'm sure.
loved it. Friday night was a blast. We stayed up drinking until about 3 o'clock. But then Saturday and Sunday kind of just were like, you have to go to the pub and you have to meet your cousins and then you have the same conversation over and over again. How are you doing? What you do? Blah, blah, blah. I didn't enjoy that too much, so I was really happy to get back to work. Yeah.
Beautiful.
I miss my wife too.
Yes.
Oh yeah, right. You did solo, right? You just went by yourself.
I know, because she
Yeah,
couldn't
puppy.
go because we had a new puppy and Taya's mom she can't leave her on her home. So it was, unfortunately, I just had to go because I promised my mom as soon as I get
I
it,
know.
I would go. And I did.
You had mentioned that before, that you really wanted to go home, and I'm glad that you got to do
Yeah.
that, and that you are Canadian
I
citizen.
would have rather gone to Barbados or something all inclusive. I've never done that
that's
yet.
within the next 8 months plan, right?
Yeah, you can
so
do that.
There's always things that you can do
Yeah.
now. Hey, you're Canadian.
I'm Canadian now, yeah.
You can fly
I
anywhere.
have 2 passports now.
Wow.
Well, that's a big
That's
deal.
so cool.
So I'm so grateful that you were persistent, that you didn't take the other offer, that you and I connected when you did come in, and you taught me to not do that anymore. So now I do I do every interview. If you
So
want to
true.
work here, no problem. I'll do it because you are the measuring stick that I remind myself I don't have a type. I need to meet everybody because that particular person might be that rock star in the making.
That's right.
And that you are, my friend.
I'm still working on it.
Yeah.
Do better every year.
Thanks for joining us today on Agents and Pieces, D. It's been a pleasure. I can't wait to see what you do in the future. You're here for life, my friend. So
I am.
figure it out.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for another episode.
Thanks, guys.